Earth was a rumor, a half-whispered myth traded in the dim-lit corridors of alien starports. A world said to have risen from dust, fought impossible wars, vanished from galactic maps, and then slipped into bedtime tales told to alien children who never believed a word of it. The Council called Earth a fairy tale, a primitive footnote in history, more folklore than fact. That perception didn't survive the next 30 seconds. The universe held its breath the moment the first tremor rippled across the subspace lanes. Sensors screamed warnings. Gravity wells twisted violently. Then space tore open, clean, sharp, deliberate, like reality itself had been waiting for the right moment to reveal a secret it had carried too long. A fleet emerged. Not a scouting wing, not a diplomatic envoy. A war formation, so disciplined it moved like a single organism, so vast it eclipsed the starlight behind it, and in the bridge of the alien flagship Azeroth, every officer froze. Conversations died mid-sentence. The air tasted electric, heavy with the realization of something too ancient and too dangerous to comprehend. Unknown vessels, the sensor officer whispered. Transponder signatures. Impossible. It can't be. But it was. Earth. Humanity. The lost legends of an extinct world had returned. The first ship alone was larger than any vessel the Council had ever constructed, sleek, obsidian, plated in shimmering alloy that bent light around its hull. The prow glowed with a faint blue edge, like a blade still hot from the forge. Then 9 more ships followed it, each bearing markings in a language the galaxy had once feared, but had long forgotten. Human Standard, Old Terran. The alien admiral swallowed hard. Those are warships. Sir, those are human warships. But this was only the beginning. Behind the formation, space flickered again, and this time the tear widened to a boiling rift stretching hundreds of miles. One by one, thousands of ships poured through, not scattered, not chaotic, organized, arranged into wings and phalanxes and armored battle groups in a choreography so precise it could only belong to a fleet forged through endless war. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had built something bigger than the galaxy ever imagined. A voice crackled across the comms, smooth, cold, unmistakably human. Galactic Council vessels, this is the Terran Vanguard. You have violated Restricted Zone 01. Disengage and retreat immediately. The Council Sensor Chief choked. Restricted? We've patrolled this sector for 200 years. They must have claimed it long before our maps updated, another officer said, panic swallowing his voice. The Admiral stared at the flagship, black, silent, regal, hovering with a confidence only a superpower could possess. Impossible. Humans were never this advanced. They were barely... A blinding pulse cut him off. The human flagship powered its bow, projecting a glyph into open space, a circular sigil of 3 intersecting rings. Every alien officer recognized it instantly, even though none of them had ever seen it in their lifetime. The Mark of Terra. The emblem of a species that had once defied empires and broken tyrants with their bare hands. And then, just when the tension felt unbearable, the human commander spoke again. You entered without authorization. You threatened what is ours. This is your final warning. On the alien bridge, fear tightened around every throat. What is theirs? One officer stammered. The Admiral's eyes widened as the realization sunk in. Everything, he whispered. They're claiming everything, the entire sector. But the truth was far worse. A new rift cracked open behind the human fleet. This one was different. Not ships, not carriers. A world. A living, rotating blue-green sphere emerged from the distortion like a dream made flesh. Oceans, clouds, continents, perfect, untouched, radiant. Earth. Not destroyed, not conquered, not forgotten. Hidden, protected, reborn. The admiral staggered backward as pure disbelief shook him. Impossible! The planet itself can't travel. But it is, the sensor officer whispered. Sir, they didn't bring ships to the battlefield. They brought their entire world. Earth floated in the abyss, shielded by a shimmering lattice of energy fields that pulsed like a heartbeat, ancient and modern at once, a fusion of history and future. And the moment the shield stabilized, thousands, no, millions of smaller defense platforms ignited around it like a constellation formed of pure firepower. Every alien ship in the sector froze. Every empire tuned its sensors. Every galaxy remembered a story they had long dismissed. Humans were never a fairy tale. They were a warning. And they had finally returned to collect what was theirs. The Terran vanguard began to reposition, wings shifting into attack formation as the flagship glided forward with terrifying precision. The alien fleet scrambled to realign, desperate not to provoke the impossible force standing before them. But the human commander spoke again, his voice low, steady, and absolute. You stand at the edge of Terran sovereign territory. Comply, or be removed. Silence gripped the stars. Then, to the horror of the Council, one of their own captains panicked. His ship lurched forward, weapons charging, an accident, a misfire, a moment of fear. But humanity didn't treat panic as an excuse. And the next moment shifted the balance of the universe forever.
The Council cruiser's cannons flickered only for half a second, a weak, trembling glow at the tips of its forward batteries. But it was enough. Across the human formation, targeting arrays bloomed open like cold blue flowers. The Terran flagship didn't hesitate, didn't wait for explanations, didn't offer mercy. A single beam lanced across the void, thin, precise, impossibly fast. It sliced the cruiser cleanly from bow to stern. The ship didn't explode. It simply came apart, disintegrating into drifting halves that spun away silently. No shockwave, no debris cloud, just surgical annihilation. On the alien bridge, a suffocating quiet swallowed every breath. The Admiral felt his knees go weak. That was a low-yield warning shot, the sensor chief whispered, voice shaking. Sir, it wasn't even a full-power strike. They weren't trying to kill us. They were demonstrating. Demonstrating what? Everyone thought, but the answer hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. Humanity was operating on a technological tier no one in the galaxy had ever reached. Then the human commander's voice returned, smooth, controlled, but now carrying a steel-edged finality. Council Fleet, one ship acted without authorization. You will stand down. Immediate compliance required. The Admiral opened the channel, throat tight. This is Admiral Kavaris of the Azeroth. That attack was accidental. Our captain panicked. Your internal errors, the Terran replied, are not our concern. Correct them. The line went dead. The Admiral's hands trembled. Across the alien fleet, thousands of officers stared at the drifting wreck of the cruiser, realizing that if humanity had wanted to, the entire Council armada could have been reduced to smoke before they'd even understood what was happening. A sudden shrill alarm cut through the bridge. The sensor officer yanked up displays. Admiral, something else is happening, behind Earth. The screen zoomed out. Space distorted again, not with the violent tear of warships, but with a slow, graceful expansion, like a door made of starlight was opening. Through it, a massive structure drifted into view, dwarfing even the human dreadnought. It was a ring, an orbital megastructure the size of a moon, polished, luminous, and on its inner edge, words appeared in glowing Terran script. Terran Gateway Network, Node 1, Earth Prime. The Admiral whispered. "They built a jump gate, large enough to move entire planets." His officers stared numb as more ships, civilian, industrial, diplomatic, poured from the gate. They weren't arriving for battle. They were arriving as if coming home from a long journey. Earth wasn't isolated. It was the hub of a vast, hidden empire. The galaxy believed humanity had vanished. In truth, they had simply outgrown the galaxy. The Terran commander wasn't finished. A new transmission arrived, this time not a warning, but a declaration, broadcast on every frequency, every language, across every corner of known space. "This is the Terran Sovereign Alliance," the voice proclaimed. "Earth has returned to reclaim its rightful boundaries, the outer verge, the midline sectors, the ancient territories abandoned during the Exodus. These regions are under Terran protection once more." Admiral Kavaris felt the blood drain from his face. "They're redrawing borders, galaxy-wide." More officers flooded the bridge. "Sir, multiple empires are demanding explanations. The Zirian Dominion, the Shale clans, the Eris Conclave, everyone wants to know how a dead species has returned with enough firepower to take half the map." "They'll want an audience with the Terrans," added another. "They won't get one," Kavaris muttered, "not unless the Terrans choose." And he wasn't wrong. Because in that moment, the human flagship moved, slowly, deliberately. It pivoted until its prow aligned directly with the Azeroth. Then it drifted forward until its shadow fell across the alien bridge, swallowing the entire viewport in steel and glowing lines of blue energy. The Admiral felt as though a mountain had crouched down to stare directly into his eyes. But the humans didn't fire. They didn't threaten. They simply watched, read, measured, judged. Then, without warning, a new voice came onto the channel, calm, resonant, yet touched with something older, something seasoned by centuries of silence. "This is High Commander Arlen of the Terran Vanguard. Admiral Kavaris, your fleet is the closest. You will deliver a message." Kavaris straightened instinctively, the weight of responsibility crashing on his shoulders. "What message?" Alan's reply carried the full authority of a species that had crossed the edge of extinction and returned stronger than myth. "Tell your council this: humanity seeks no war, but we will not hide, we will not bow, and we will not allow the galaxy to decide our fate ever again." Kavaris tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. "And if the council refuses—" The human flagship's lights dimmed for a heartbeat, almost like a predator lowering its stance before the strike. "Then," Alan said softly, "we will remind the galaxy why the old stories were told in whispers." The channel closed. Kavaris exhaled shakily as Earth glowed brighter behind the human lines, its shield pulsing with serene confidence. The Terran fleet remained silent but ready, each ship a polished blade waiting to be unsheathed. The alien officers looked to their admiral. "What do we do?" someone whispered. Kavaris stared at the human armada, the drifting remains of the cruiser, and the colossal gateway pulsing behind Earth. He knew one wrong decision here could ignite a war that would burn across galaxies. "We withdraw," he said softly, "and we deliver their message." But even as he said it, even as the Azeroth slowly rotated to leave Terran space, something else stirred, movement at the edge of the sector. A faint flicker. Small, but not human? Not council. Not something he had recognized before. Another presence. Another player watching from the shadows. one that had been waiting for humanity to reveal itself again. The Admiral leaned closer to the screen. "Sensors, identify that signature!" And when the reading came through, a chill crept through every spine on the bridge. Because whatever it was, it had been here long before the Council arrived, long before the humans emerged, long before the galaxy even remembered Earth existed. And it was, finally, moving.
The signal sharpened, unraveling its distortion like a creature stretching after a long hibernation. At first it appeared as a shimmer, thin, ghost-like, easy to miss, but then it solidified, taking form not through engines or hull plating, but through gravity itself, folding inward. Every alarm in the Azeroth screamed at once. Kavara spun toward the sensor display. "That's not Council, not Terran. Sir, it predates every run ship class in our database by hundreds of thousands of years." The Admiral's chest tightened. "Ancient builders?" "No," the sensor chief whispered. "Older." A low vibration echoed through the sector, felt more than heard. Even the mighty Terran fleet shifted formation, reacting instantly, wings aligning, dreadnoughts pivoting like wolves scenting a larger predator. Earth's shield brightened, the gateway dimmed, recalibrating like a heart bracing for impact. Then the entity fully emerged, a colossal structure of interlocked black spires, alive, shifting, bending light and swallowing starlight whole. It dwarfed even the Terran flagship. No visible engines, no weapons, no lights. It hovered like a dead god returning to reclaim the mortals who had forgotten its existence. Admiral Kavaris felt the temperature in the bridge plunge. And then a single pulse of energy rippled outward, brushing across every ship in the system. Screens flickered, gravity fluctuated, hulls groaned. The Terran commander's voice cut through at once. "All fleets hold. Unknown entity is not to be engaged unless fired upon." But the entity did not fire. Instead, thin strands of light spiraled from the spires, coiling into a single beam that projected toward Earth, not as a weapon, but as a gesture. It was communicating. A voice, layered and ancient, resonated across every frequency, not spoken, but imprinted directly into the minds of every living being in the sector. "Children of Terra, you have awakened." Kavara stumbled. Officers clutched their heads. The voice wasn't hostile. It wasn't benevolent. It was absolute. On the Terran flagship, Arlen stepped forward, staring at the projection with a calm that didn't match the staggering scale of what stood before him. "This is Terran sovereign territory. Identify yourself." The Spire being's response was immediate. "We are the architects, the first makers, the ones who seeded your cradle and watched as you left it behind." Gasps rippled across every ship, every crew, every mind plugged into the comm feed. Kavaris couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Humanity seeded, watched, protected? This changed everything. But the voice continued, resonant as the tides of the universe. "When the stars turned violent, when the galaxies broke into war, we hid you. We forged a veil around your world. We scattered myths to keep you safe. And when you became strong enough to threaten even yourselves, we withdrew." Earth's shield flickered, almost reacting emotionally. Arlen's jaw tightened. "If you protected us, why reveal yourselves now?" The spires shifted, a ripple like blades rearranging. "Because your reemergence has stirred the hungers of older things, because the galaxy trembles at your return, because the balance we kept is ending." Another pulse spread across space, like a drumbeat echoing into eternity. "And because the choice must be made." Arlen narrowed his eyes. "What choice?"
The ancient voice darkened, as though shadows were being woven into each syllable. "Whether humanity will rise as guardians or conquerors." A silence followed, deep, suffocating, charged. Every admiral, every crew, every nation across every empire listened. The Terran fleet seemed to hold its breath. Then something unexpected happened. Earth responded. Its shield brightened, slowly at first, then with a radiant surge that illuminated every corner of the sector. Panels on its surface unfolded, revealing golden latticework beneath the crust, ancient, elegant, alien in design. The architects paused. For the first time they sounded surprised. "You activated the heart of Terra?" Arlen blinked. "We activated nothing. The planet responds on its own. It has for centuries." The architect's spires twisted sharply. "That mechanism predates your species." A wave of energy surged from Earth, gentle, warm, breathtaking. It wrapped around the Terran fleet, the council ships, the alien vessels hiding at the edge of the system. It pushed into the void beyond, revealing faint trails, movements, predators lurking in the dark between galaxies. The architect spoke again. "Then the choice has already begun." Kavaris felt every hair on his body stand. Something monstrous stirred in the darkness, drawn by the light of Earth's awakening. Arlen stepped forward, shoulders squared. "Architects, tell us what is coming." The voice pulsed like a thunderstorm. "A force that once ended civilizations. A hunger that devours stars. It awakens because it senses your return." The Terran fleet tightened formation. Earth pulsed brighter. The Council fleet backed away slowly, awed and terrified. Kavaris whispered, "The galaxy will fall if this is true." Arlen turned, his voice steady and unshakable. "We are humanity. We don't run from darkness. We light the way." Earth answered with a flare of golden brilliance. The Terran fleets aligned, thousands of ships locking into a formation so vast it resembled a single living shield around the planet. The architect's spires lifted, rising like titans preparing for a war older than memory. And at the edge of the system, the darkness coiled, gathering, preparing to descend. Humanity looked into the coming storm. The architects braced to stand beside their lost children. The galaxy held its breath, and Earth, reborn, awakened, unhidden, burned brighter than any star, calling every human across the universe home. The first shadow crossed the threshold of the system, and the long-forgotten war, the war the architects once believed no species could survive, was finally ready to begin.